There's something that happens to an empath after they've been through enough, after enough betrayal, after enough one-sided giving, after enough nights spent feeling everything so deeply that sleep becomes impossible. Something begins to shift, quietly, almost imperceptibly, beneath the surface of who they are. And what emerges isn't what anyone expects. It isn't bitterness. It isn't numbness. It isn't the emotional shutdown that people who've never truly felt deeply might assume follows years of pain. What emerges are abilities, real, measurable, profound shifts in perception that most people will never develop because most people never go through what awakened empaths survive. Carl Jung spent decades mapping the terrain of the human psyche, and what he found in his most emotionally evolved patients astonished him. The empaths who had passed through their darkest seasons, who had grieved, detached, rebuilt themselves from the inside out, didn't just recover. They developed capacities for perception and understanding that he could only describe as extraordinary. Jung called this the fruit of individuation, the gifts that wait on the other side of the wound. Today I'm going to show you exactly what those abilities are, why only awakened empaths develop them, and why what you've been through wasn't a sentence, it was a preparation. The first ability is the one that surprises people most. You can feel the truth before anyone speaks it. Jung observed something remarkable in patients who had completed deep emotional work. Their nervous systems had been so thoroughly trained by years of reading subtle emotional cues, the micro shift in someone's tone, the tension behind a smile, the way a person's energy changes when they're lying, that they developed what he described as an almost preternatural sensitivity to incongruence. Awakened empaths don't just hear what people say, they feel the gap between what someone says and what they actually mean. And that gap speaks louder than any words. This isn't mysticism. It's the result of a nervous system that spent years in survival mode, scanning constantly for emotional danger, learning to detect threat signals that most people never notice. What was once a trauma response becomes, after healing, something closer to a superpower. You've probably already noticed this in yourself. Someone tells you they're fine and your entire body knows they aren't. Someone makes a promise and something in you registers, quietly and certainly, that it will never be kept. You walk into a room and feel the emotional residue of a conversation that ended before you arrived. Jung would tell you this isn't imagination, it's integration. Your nervous system learned something that cannot be unlearned, and now it serves you instead of exhausting you. The second ability is even more profound. You can hold space for pain without being destroyed by it. Before awakening, an empath absorbs. Someone else's grief becomes their grief. Someone else's anxiety floods their body as if it were their own. They take on emotional weight that was never theirs to carry, and they do it unconsciously, reflexively, because the boundary between self and other hasn't yet been drawn. But something changes after the empath has done the deep work of individuation. Jung found that patients who had genuinely integrated their emotional history developed a new capacity, what he called conscious witnessing. The ability to be fully present with someone's pain without merging with it. This is not detachment, it is not coldness, it is something far more sophisticated than either. The awakened empath can sit beside suffering and offer it complete, undivided presence, without losing themselves in the process. They've learned the difference between empathizing and absorbing, between caring deeply and dissolving completely. And that distinction transforms them into the kind of person that others instinctively turn to in their darkest moments. Not because the awakened empath fixes things, but because they can witness without flinching. They can stay when everything in the room feels unbearable. And that kind of steady, grounded presence is rarer and more healing than almost anything else one human being can offer another. The third ability is the one the world most desperately needs. You can love without needing anything back. Jung believed that most human love, as beautiful as it is partly transactional. We love and we hope to be loved in return. We give and we watch, sometimes consciously, sometimes not, to see whether something comes back. This is not a flaw, it is human nature. But awakened empaths, after passing through the fire of loving people who couldn't love them back, after grieving that reality completely and releasing it, develop something different. A capacity for love that has been purified by loss. They've already loved without return. They've already given without reciprocity. They know what that costs, and having survived it, having done the grief work, the detachment, the rebuilding, they arrive at a place where their love is no longer contingent on outcome. This doesn't mean they accept poor treatment. Jung was clear on this distinction. The awakened empath has boundaries precisely because they have learned what happens when love becomes martyrdom. But within those boundaries, their capacity for genuine, egoless care is something most people will spend their entire lives reaching for and never quite grasping. They've been to the place where love and loss are the same thing, and they came back knowing that love doesn't require a guarantee to be real. The fourth ability is the quietest and perhaps the most powerful. You become a tuning fork for other people's healing. Jung observed that his most evolved patients didn't just heal themselves. Their healing created something like a field around them. Other people in their presence began to loosen, began to breathe differently, began sometimes without understanding why to tell the truth. This is what the awakened empath carries, not a technique, not a method, a frequency, the lived knowledge that survival is possible, that the worst seasons end, that the thing you thought would destroy you can become the very source of your depth. People feel this without being able to name it. They sense that the awakened empath has been somewhere real, has returned from somewhere that most people haven't yet had the courage or the necessity to visit. And that sense creates safety, the kind of safety that allows other people to finally stop performing and start healing. Jung would call this the wounded healer, the one whose authority to help others comes not from training or theory, but from having descended into the depths and found their way back. The one whose presence alone communicates the thing that suffering people most need to hear, that there is a way through. You've spent years wondering if everything you felt so deeply was a burden, if your sensitivity was a flaw, if the pain you went through left you broken in ways that couldn't be repaired. Jung would tell you that you were never broken. You were being forged. The abilities you carry now, the perception, the capacity to witness, the purified love, the healing presence, these are not consolation prizes for what you suffered. They are the direct result of what you survived. They are what suffering looks like when it has been fully faced, fully felt, and fully integrated. You didn't just endure your journey. You were transformed by it. And that transformation is not the end of your story. It is, as Jung always believed, the beginning of the one you were always meant to live.